What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of VCC Live. Tonight we are joined by a very special guest, Battery Mooch. And then over on that side, as always, is Jay. What's going on, guys? This is episode 44. How you like my title? Positivity and negativity. Charging for battle.
I hadn't seen it yet. Actually, I like that.
And reverse protection, featuring Battery Mooch. That's not the reverse cowgirl, by the way. It's reverse protection. Just so you guys know. Jay, what's up, man? How have things been this past week?
I don't know. I'm really starting to think this was a mistake doing tonight. I just want to thank Mooch for being the anti-flat brim.
Oh, yeah, he's the antithesis of flat brim.
Yeah, it's I was. God, let's see. Was I ever? No. Before that was a fad. It was just, we're just wearing baseball caps, and it's just kind of, as you get older, things sag, and the ends are just kind of come down over the years.
Amen.
So, Mooch, what's up, man? Glad to have you on.
Thanks for the invite, dude. I appreciate it.
Yeah, what gave me the idea, I saw the thing you did with Daniel and Phil and the vaping biker, Dean. And I watched, the whole thing, and it was a couple hours long. So it was pretty impressive video.
Yeah, we got into some fun stuff, and they're all great guys. So we had a lot of fun with things, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was very informative.
Especially off camera.
Oh, I bet. You guys should have recorded that. That probably would have gotten a ton of views.
Oh, no. Bad idea.
So for the people who are watching this, watching it live, thank you guys for watching live. Don't forget to hit the like button down below there. And if you're watching this on the replay, Mooch, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got involved in the vaping industry, how you became proficient at testing batteries and calling manufacturers out on the bullshit that they're trying to claim with their batteries and safety and all that stuff. How did you get involved with all this, and who are you? What do you do?
Well, I've been designing power electronics since the early 1990s, and this is things like power supplies, battery chargers, battery management and protection systems, energy harvesters for charging batteries. So a lot of the work that I did for my day job, and I do this as a consulting engineer. I work out of a home office. A lot of my work involves pairing very tightly or integrating particular batteries with the electronics I design or the electronics the manufacturers that contact me already have or want updated or something like that. So a lot of the work I do is testing or characterizing those batteries, determining the characteristics. Part of that are the ratings, capacity, current, and things like that. When I started vaping a little over 2 years ago, I couldn't believe it. I was laughing hysterically at the bullshit I saw on the batteries, and I got really, really angry. And I'd been a light smoker, but it always bothered me a great deal, and especially since I couldn't stop, stress smoking. I was happy I didn't smoke, but as soon as I get stressed, there's just nothing like that first pull. In less than 2 weeks of going slowly, I stopped smoking, and I haven't touched a cigarette since. So part of what I wanted to do, being so angry, was a little something back to the community, since I already had the equipment, to say, hey, thanks for getting me off something I couldn't do for over 30 years. And, oh, by the way, these batteries are bullshit. And try to get a little information out there, especially since, it's easy while I'm waiting for a client's battery to finish testing, or right in the middle of a video conference, I can still fire up, another battery for the vaping community that might be tested. And I found out I got a lot of satisfaction out of doing it. And it took several months to find out what the community needed or wanted or would even believe. A lot of pushback at the start from a lot of people. But now there's been kind of a routine, and I find, especially in the past month, I've gone, no, enough's enough.
Yeah.
There's some things I was letting slide and saying, no, you can't have a pulse rating on the battery anymore unless you tell it what it is. And no, you can't say IMR as a generic, safe battery term, because you don't use the chemistry associated with the letters IMR, and taking the extra steps, especially with more regulation coming, more scrutiny. It was time to go the extra step to try to get rid of some of this crap.
Very cool.
And to highlight the batteries that do put good ratings on them. I mean, those are often the ones that have the lowest sales volume because they're using real numbers and not doubled the actual number. So it actually helps, I'm hoping, get other companies to go, okay, we can take a hit in sales for a few months, but in the end, we're going to be the ones who are using the accurate ratings, and that's going to get us increased sales later. So I'm hoping we can hit them in the pocketbook now, but they'll start to realize it's in their best interest to use accurate ratings, in addition to just being the right thing to do.
So do you keep up with advocacy in the community as a whole, or you kind of just stick to your niche of batteries, or?
Well, I do in terms of an awareness.
Questions.
Yeah, some basic efforts in terms of contacting my representatives and senators, et cetera. The battery thing is already beyond a full time. As a battery safety advocate, that's been what I do for advocacy. Right. The more you can keep us out of the news, the easier our job is in terms of any other advocacy we want to do, legislative, et cetera. So a lot of what I do is just around there. But if you ask me, what do you think about the compliance standards for e-liquids in HR 1136, I'd be like, I have no idea. I've read it several times, and I go, other people are working on this part. I'm going to work on this other part of 1136 and 2194.
Right.
But certainly with New York's crap last year and other things, the effort's there, the thoughts are there, but the time goes towards the battery safety advocacy and what I can do there to help mold legislative actions, to educate people who are considering introducing legislation or combating something they may see, public or private efforts there, and things like that. And primarily because there is some little representation on the technical end.
Well, you do watch, you do join us sometimes for the VCC Lives live. Do you get some information? Hopefully you get some good information from watching the VCC Lives, but where else do you get, what other sources are you getting information about what's happening with the community?
Being on the list for, SFATA and CASA and listening to calls to action and things like that, that's always a great place. But a lot of you just keeping your eyes open. This stuff doesn't exist in a vacuum. A lot of people don't read it, but it flies across our news feeds all the time for the different, particularly Facebook, Reddit and things like that. Not as much ECF, no, but some of the other places. The information is there. But this is something that, maybe 1% of us have an interest in, and 1% of those have the time to do something, and 1% of those will actually, do something active. And that's about right for essentially taking a group of the public and saying who's going to have an interest in any particular aspect or who's going to share one of our interests. And that's actually enough numbers if everyone is active and continues with it. But each person has to choose, what their comfort level is, and then we all get to share what happens in the end.
So even our quote this week, I found one that had to do with batteries, a battery reference. It says, "Without vision, even the most focused passion is a battery without a device." And I think that's absolutely true, and kind of goes along with what you were just saying. And everybody can have passion, very focused passion, but we all need to work together and pick up our niche and what we are good at as individuals, and put it together for a community effort. And we need to have a common vision, pretty much, and that's what it's all about. So
that's it too, and realize this is not a 1 year struggle. Might be the word. This is a 25-year struggle, and we're not going to convert. When I came in to sing batteries, I said, okay, hopefully in 5 years, I can get the community to start to realize that these ratings are bullshit. Maybe 5 years, maybe 10. But I gave it 5 years. And it actually took maybe a little over a year before people started to realize, whoa, wait, okay, huh? And they started looking and believing and saying, all right, I still decide to use rewraps, but at least I know they're true ratings now. And that's okay. That's all I want. I don't care what batteries they use. Just understand what they are. Right. And you're paying more and blah, blah, blah. And I think a lot of that's for advocacy. We're not trying to just throw out education. We're trying to modify the viewpoints of a generation of people, and that generation is from ages 18 to 21 or whatever up to 90. Essentially, taking a 25-year block of people who can start affecting legislation and stuff for us now, and trying to change all of them, which cannot be done, in this amount of time. Unfortunately, we've got some looming deadlines. So there are a lot of issues and problems there with that. Maybe we can't get anything done quickly, but we have to.
Right.
And that leads to all kinds of things. And I think that led to a lot of stress and a lot of combativeness and infighting and other things.
So we've talked before on previous episodes about HR 1136, and we've also talked briefly in an episode just kind of covering the longer term prospect of HR 2194, or maybe some other legislation that is yet to be introduced that would, I guess, delineate more clearly what vaping is and distinguish it from tobacco products. But what have you seen in both of those so people can get an understanding more from a technical perspective? How will it affect devices and or batteries in 1136, for instance, or 2194?
Yeah, it's this
so
interesting thing here.
Start with 1136. What does that kind of cover?
1136, in a way, in the short term, and I'm not talking about anything other than some of the technical aspects here in terms of e-liquid and compliance and penalties and everything else. I'm not going to address right now. But maybe some of the technical aspects that people haven't really considered into some things. And part of what is interesting for me is 1136. I think is certainly the better short-term solution for unregulated device users, because 2194 is essentially a de facto ban on unregulated devices. 1136 gives us almost 2 years to find out at least what the FDA would do in terms of enacting a battery regulations that might impact what devices could be used or not used. But something I thought was fascinating was, with compliance with the final standards in HR 1136, they use the words for any vapor product that has a battery, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
Well, what does that mean? Does that mean every external battery device, HR 1136 doesn't apply to it? It's only for internal battery devices?
So if we all start rubbing sticks with VG on them, it won't apply.
The way 1136 is written, essentially any external battery device is not covered by HR 1136 because they don't have a battery.
So anything that doesn't include an 186 or that doesn't have
any size
650 that you put in.
No. Any internal battery mod would be covered by 1136, but anyone that uses an external battery, the way it's worded now, would not be covered by 1136.
So
any size, any battery. Every single battery, every single mod, you have to put an 18650, 18350, 26650, all unregulated devices, all tube devices, and every single regulated device except the one that has the built-in LiPos in them. That's the way it's written. Now, what is the intent of that statement versus what the words are? I'm sure they meant to say every device that can use a battery, as opposed to every device that has a battery. But I thought that was kind of interesting because I think that would either have to lead to clarification, or it's a great way to attack it in the courts, saying none of these devices are sold with batteries. They don't have a battery. So 1136 doesn't apply to them. So I thought that was kind of interesting. The rest of it really just says, hey, the FDA has 2 years to work on battery standards, but interestingly, nothing about devices in 1136, other than defining, essentially saying pretty well anything you look at on the planet can be a tobacco product, if it involves vaping. So that was the most interesting thing I saw here. I think what they would end up doing is what they do for medical devices. The FDA regulates batteries for medical devices, and they defer to existing safety standards, not ratings, not anything to do with the medical devices themselves. They just say, hey, these batteries have to pass a UL or an EU standard, and they give you numbers for those. And then we're fine with them.
Yeah.
And there are other regulatory things that medical devices have to go with because they're medical devices. They may point to those. UL is working right now on a e-cigarette device standard. They have a panel now. Maybe in a couple of years they'll have something. But 1136 now looks good, maybe even better than they wanted it to be. But because we don't know what they could do, there are some really terrible nightmare scenarios 2 years from now as a result of 1136.
Yeah, because until it's enacted and until there's case law, we're never truly going to know.
Yeah, what's the FDA going to do in 2 years of battery standards? They had a battery safety workshop, which was surprisingly well balanced. Not well balanced, just surprisingly, in terms of what I thought would come out of them. It surprised me that some people were going, well, hold on, these aren't, death doll mankind sticks and devices and things. A lot of them were business opportunity presentations by manufacturers who would love to be involved in any kind of regulation, saying, oh, you need this kind of protection. Ooh, we make a chip for that.
Right.
And something. So that was kind of interesting. But I think
the language in 1136 was put there to pacify Democrats who had a problem with batteries exploding and stuff like that. Do you think it accomplished that goal, and do you think that it is, obviously if the predicate date doesn't get changed by August of 2018, or if they pushed it 3 months, maybe August, whatever it is now, whatever the date is, 3 months past that, the industry's gone, so it won't really matter. So we need to get the predicate date changed. But do you think what they did to placate the Democrats was enough, and do you think that it works for now?
No, that's why I think 2194 comes in more.
Okay. So explain to us then about 2194, which is the Duncan Hunter legislation that's introduced, and I don't think that it's picking up much steam yet. And again, I think it's a year to 2 years out before it will get steam. By the way, we'll just really quickly, I'll update you. I'm not going to flip over to the full screen, but HR 1136 has picked up some more co-sponsors, which is a good thing. A few more Democrats this past week. So the bill HR 1136 is now up to 70 co-sponsors, 70, and that is 61.
How many Dems?
61 Republicans and 9 Democrats. So the Democrats that came on board this last week or two are Benny Thompson out of, I think that's Mississippi, MS, right? That's Mississippi. Kristen Sinema out of Arizona. And those are the two that I see that came on over the last couple of weeks. Democrats, there are more Republicans as well. But anyway, it's getting more support as the days and weeks pass, which is really good for possibly changing the predicate date sometime, hopefully in the next several months, if other avenues don't work out, such as litigation or any other avenue doesn't work out.
Which it obviously has to be the highest priority.
Yeah, absolutely.
On things, and in spite of anything else, might be addressed, in terms of this going on in 2 years or that happening, whatever, like an 1136 for the battery stuff and things like that.
Right.
2194 is interesting because it says that all vapor products, all devices have to have certain protections. There's a de facto ban on unregulated devices because they won't be aware, they won't have the short circuit protection and the other protections that 2194 requires. So mechs would be not allowed. Just about every, I think probably the best way to say it is every unregulated device of any kind, MOSFET, PWM, or mechs would not be allowed.
But isn't it safe to say? I mean, we're not policymakers, we're not law enforcement. But just off the cuff, those are the devices that are most difficult to regulate anyway, because people are making those in garages and machine shop, in home machine shops. Mm-hmm. So how do you regulate that device? You can't market it the way we've been marketing them, but you can. I mean, people are still going to make them.
They'll still make them, and that's what they almost admitted that on another video that was on, or at least the backers of it admitted it. EVCA or something. I forgot. Said, mechs are DIY. It's a DIY thing, and that'll survive. And I'm like, there are thousands of people in America employed for the unregulated mod industry. And these are jobs.
It has kind of fallen by the wayside in over the past year or two. But yeah, certainly it's still a thriving market for those who are involved in it.
Yeah, and a passionate market. The people who enjoy mechs really enjoy mechs. This is a lifestyle for them, just as much as a regulated user might be, or a coil maker might be, or anything like that. So there's that de facto ban on things, but the backers of it have pretty well said we're willing to give up that portion of the market to move the rest of it in. One thing that caught my eye, though, and it goes back to internal mods again, with 2194, they talk about discharge monitoring, and they say, hey, don't let it go too low in voltage, blah, blah, blah. That's fine for regulated. I support everything that's in 2194. The battery regulation and the regulated mod protection, those are fantastic, what they have there. It's just what they don't talk about in terms of what it leads to, de facto ban on unregulated. But they talk about you also have to keep the battery from being discharged beyond what it can sustain safely. That means the mod has to know what battery is inside of it, and that means only internal battery mods will be allowed with 2194. So not only is it a de facto ban on unregulated, there's a de facto ban on any mod which you can put a battery into.
Right.
Well, yes, certainly on its face that could be true, but couldn't a company that manufactures a device also say this device is designed to work with such and such a battery, or give a list of compatible batteries?
I guess I could do that, and then it would be up to the powers that be, CPSC, which there are all these rumors about that. I don't see them taking over anything yet, but it could be under their coverage later. But let's say the FDA for now would handle regulations, and FDA would have to say whether that's acceptable or not.
Right.
Personally, if I was in the FDA, I'd be absolutely not a chance. Because we can't, because new batteries come out all the time. We're not in the battery testing business, blah, blah, blah. They're just going to say, look, this is allowed or that's not allowed. And they're not going to go into battery models and keeping up with changing battery technology and everything like that. If I was part of the FDA, I'd be like, oh, hell no. We're not getting involved in that. We're going to say, why should we? Quote unquote, if you're thinking the FDA, this is not me saying this. Right. Why should we deal with all this when we just have to say the mod has to know it? If the battery's inside, the only devices I think they're really cued into existing are internal battery mods, pens, iStick 20 watts, things like that. They're vaguely aware of things you can put battery into and stuff like that. Yeah, something like this is the horror to them.
It's a stick of dynamite.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look at the size of that battery.
Yeah, we'll keep a few things in perspective. 2194 again is in its infancy, and no bill ever introduced makes it to the finishing line untouched and unaltered.
Yeah, we have opportunities.
So we have opportunities to work with Congress on the language,
like maybe mech safety. Every mech has to have plastic insulator under a hybrid top cap. Has to have a plastic sleeve on the inside. Has to have
maybe a minimum locking mechanism of some sort.
Minimum surface area, a minimum open area for venting holes, something like that. Things that any manufacturer could work with. Some will be like, oh, God damn it, I don't want to take the time and money to put a piece of plastic under a hybrid top cap. But then it's that, or they're going to legislate you out of existence.
Right.
So there may be some opportunities there to adjust that, to play with the word clarifications, I think is the word they like. For some of these, but I don't know, these couple of things, for 1136 and 2194, just a couple of words here or there, and it makes a huge difference in terms of entire markets on things, and I don't think that's really been discussed or even thought about for a lot of the community.
Have you ever taken a poll on how many battery explosions have caused injury? I don't think any have caused death, but not that I've heard of anyway. Have caused injury? Would you say it's in the tens, the hundreds? Certainly not. Well, the thousands, I don't think.
There was about 195 incidents reported, formally reported. The FDA Battery Workshop that broke down the archive of the video, and the transcripts from the 2 days are available on the FDA.gov website for the Battery Safety Workshop. So
if you can send me the link and Skype to that after the show's over, I'll post it in the description for people.
And specifically, I would like to see those rates compared to what we know about use, general use, and see what the actual failure rate is compared to things like laptops and cell phones. Correct. And I would guess that it's probably comparable. It might be a little higher because the devices are, Yeah, because the devices are a lot newer. It's a much newer industry, but I would suggest that they were probably pretty close to comparable.
Yeah, in a way, it's orders of magnitude higher because you don't get laptop users. There is no laptop battery that's going to ignite when you shove it in your backpack. They're protected, but
now they are, sure.
Yeah. Well, they never had loose cells.
Right.
Every manufacturer is going to have.
There were no
somewhere.
mech laptops.
Yeah. So on
Made from
things, but
flashlight tubes.
yeah. There
you
we
have
go.
to press. You have to press and hold the button while you're using your computer, and then let go.
Exactly.
When you're done.
Well, where I was going with the occurrence rate was, I mean, that's comparing it to, and I know that people have a problem with this number, but roughly somewhere between 1,300 and 1,400 Americans die every day from a smoking-related illness. And I always talk about putting things in perspective. Okay, the perspective is this industry, even with mech mods, even people using mech mods to not smoke, is still magnitude safer than them smoking cigarettes over the long term.
Right. But you know what? I always go, that's irrelevant. And no disrespect for anybody use those terms, because they are important statistics, but they're completely irrelevant, I think, for our cause, because they mean nothing to the people who have the legislation in place to try to hurt us.
It doesn't help. It doesn't help PR. It's not sexy. You're not going to see a newscast that says, "Hey, look how many people are saved." How few people are blowing their face off with meth.
But Kevin, think of the children. Think of the children. Unicorn milk on a playground. Oh my God.
I just like to try to keep things in perspective every now and then. I know it doesn't matter to them much on the big picture, but in our eyes, if we keep focus on what we're doing and that our end goal is a good end goal and that it's good for public health and humanity, I think that's something that we should bring up every now and then.
I was going to ask you about that. How do you feel about putting cartoon characters on batteries?
Has this happened?
No, I'm kidding. It's a joke.
If someone wants to if it makes a kid eat a battery, I'm against it. But which is actually a real problem for coin cells. The little calculator batteries and things like that.
Oh, the button cells, yeah.
Button cells, yeah, because they're shiny. And they do some nasty electrolysis stuff once they hit the acid in your stomach. So I mean, the voltage isn't a problem, anything like that. But it's one of the contacts goes through electrolysis once it gets down the digestive tract in your stomach, and the metal starts eating away, and then it releases all the toxins, shards of metal. It's really bad.
I'll ask you the same question. When we talked about HR 2194, and I believe Matt and Nick were both with us on that one. I think Matt was in the chat that night because he wasn't feeling well. But I'll ask you the same question. If it came down to mechs being the sacrificial lamb so that we could get some federal legislation and keep vaping around and be regulated reasonably as a market to get smokers transition away from combustible tobacco, is that something that you would support? Or, I mean, is it something you really want to, would you see it as a non-starter, like, mechs have to be available?
Well, right now it's a non-starter because that has to be my goal for having 2194 modified.
Okay.
Now, if 2194 happens, well, then it doesn't matter what I think or don't think because it's happened. So for me, it's not like this is not acceptable. It's just no, I don't like this. I don't want this. I'm going to try to change this.
Right.
And talk to the backers. Particularly what I've been working on. Since I saw this other video with the backers for 2194, is the wording on mech safety. It's they don't care. So I just can't tell them, hey, whoa, you got to add mechs in there somehow. You got to protect them. What? No, they're not going to spend 1 second on that. But if you write the legislation for them and say, here's some wording.
Right. Absolutely.
I would like you to consider this. Write every single word for them to make it as easy as possible.
But from my experience, bitching about something never does you any good unless you have an alternate plan to present.
Yeah.
You can't ask them to take time to change something.
It's not going to happen. I think
that
this wording is better. Here you go. If you hand it to them on a silver platter and they read it and they're like, okay, yeah, we can go with that. But it's better than just saying, hey, we disagree with it. This is bullshit. Blah, blah, blah. That does nothing.
Yeah, they don't care about you in the first place. They don't want to hear what you have to say. You're causing more work to have to be done. It's not bringing in money or donations or anything. There's no reason whatsoever for them to change it,
Right.
unless you can convince them there's some benefit. And I think jobs for that aspect of the community, the jobs angle, and hey, here's a legislation that we feel can help preserve these jobs.
So I did this check on the 115th Congress page for HR 2194. The last time I checked it was probably a week and a half or two ago. But I guess on the 25th of May, HR 2194 did pick up 2 co-sponsors. So 2 Republicans, Don Bacon from Nebraska and Walter Jones from North Carolina, are now co-sponsors of HR 2194. So I guess
I can see that one changing
and that's
a lot.
tobacco country. North Carolina's tobacco country.
Yeah, so I guess it is slowly getting a little bit of support, and maybe that will.
That's the one I can see though having a good chance for being, because I think the battery safety, calling for the regulations, the safety standards that are used everywhere anyway for batteries. All the Samsung, Sony, LG, Panasonic, Sanyo's already passed that. So I'm like, hoorah! Who cares? If they call for that, and the regulated mod standards, that's great for the Dem side. The Democrats to say, oh, save the children,
Right.
and on there and go for the safety angle. For the Republicans, I think a lot of it's going to be, I'm stereotyping, but I'm hoping it's fair that, the jobs angle, hopefully they can back it in terms of, predicate dates and et cetera and so forth can help save an industry so they can claim a win on it also. I would just like to save the unregulated part of our community from 2194 if I have any input on anything. That's kind of my goal on it. That doesn't mean I don't back 1136. If 1136 is skyrocketing through and it's definitely going to make it, it's like, okay, hoorah. All right, now we got a 2-year battle against a fracking FDA in terms of will anything survive? The industry will survive the predicate date thing, but will our industry survive the coming regulations in terms of batteries and mods through UL and the battery regulations and stuff? But there'll be another battle to take on then.
Right.
It just sucks top to bottom, left to right, everywhere. There is no good on anything. It's sort of a parallel effort. Supporting 1136, trying to change 2194, because I really don't think any of us can do anything to change 1136. Not without some monster effort. It's been here, it's been sitting there, and but I think 2194 we have a chance to insert some language in there.
Yeah, or absolutely. Or make changes to the existing, like you said, they'll have a plan ready and have something to show them that they can agree with. So yeah, if you're watching live, don't forget to hit that like button. If you're watching on the replay, hit the like button. We have a lot of people in chat saying what's up. KBN Production says, hi Mooch, Kevin, Jay. So what's going on, guys? If you guys have any questions for Mooch while he's on,
So weird being
put them in the
backwards.
chat. What's that?
It's so weird being backwards.
Being backwards? Oh
Yeah, I'm backwards from the other broadcast methods that I've been on. This one is backwards, so it's
Yeah, Skype doesn't show you a mirror.
yeah, it's quote unquote backwards, and it's messing with me.
It's easier if you do this.
I just
we go.
I just
Yeah.
look at the I go to the YouTube and watch the live broadcast with it muted.
Okay.
That's what I do, and then you can see the chat as well. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, put them in the chat. I'm sure Mooch will be happy to. I am a very simple vapor. I like mechs very occasionally, and I liked them a couple of years ago. But honestly, I'm pretty busy. I don't build coils or anything like that. So I use these type of devices where you just put the batteries in and charge them and stuff, and it's kind of a no-brainer, and it works for me, and that's what I like. It's simple. So for me, not having a technical background, even if I read probably some of the stuff that you've put out, I would have no idea what it means. So,
that's where the tables come in handy, because most
Right.
people don't want to know and shouldn't have to know in a way, and some people just want to vape, man. So use a table, or that actually got digested down from 150 18650s down to the recommended batteries table.
Right.
Here are 15. Pick any of them.
So when you started out doing this 2 or 3 years ago, was it 2 years ago you said, when you started out doing the testing on the batteries and putting information out there, you said there was some pushback at the beginning from different aspects of the community. What was that about? Why? What happened?
Well, who the fuck am I to think I know anything about batteries? Of course, an EFS is 45 amps. And that was most of it. I've used EFS for 3 years. I never had a problem. They have to be 45 amps. And a lot of it's been, well, number one, saying, my revealing the true rating of a battery has nothing to do with your emotional investment in the batteries you've selected. It's
Right.
Battery's rating exists no matter what we think about the battery. The rating exists, and I'm just bringing a standardization to the rating, so you can compare one battery to another. And oh, by the way, you've been lied to for 3 years by a company that will feel free to use anything they want, underneath the wrap. And I think it just took an awful long time for them to realize that this many companies could lie to them this badly for this long. Because we don't want to think that or believe that. It complicates our lives. It means we've made bad choices, which no one wants to go, oh, okay. None of us want to admit that or think about that. And you don't want to think a company could be that bad. Mm-hmm. Several companies, the entire industry, in terms of the Chinese battery part of it. And so a lot of people push back hard. And
so how did you overcome? How were you able to overcome that? You kept putting out factual information, told them a little bit about your history and education and your job, and people said,
I just kept testing.
This guy actually does know what he's talking about.
Yeah, you just keep testing and you keep posting it, and you don't attack back because right. It's perfectly understandable the kind of reactions that are there. If someone comes in out of the blue, a new vapor on top of it, that has nothing to do with battery testing, but the new vapor angle was very big. Who are you? You're a new vapor, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you think you know everything after vaping for 2 months? I'm like, no, I know a little bit about batteries after testing it for 22 years. So it's there's a lot of that. And it's really, I had the 5-year plan. I wasn't emotionally invested in protecting my testing. My testing does that all on its own. It was just a strategy of slow, relentless logic and data. Right. And in the end, that's always going to win out. But it takes a lot of months and a lot of biting your tongue and a lot of saying, well, take a look at this table. Or, hey, next time you do this, try doing that. And never just going, oh, well, yeah, well, fuck you too.
Yeah.
When does
that's
that change
no way
somebody's
to
mind?
Make progress for sure. 350 ZMO in the chat says, I disagree, 2194 outlaws mechs. That's pretty much what Mooch said. So I'm not sure what the disagreement is with there, but yeah, that's almost exactly what he said. It's a de facto ban on mechs, which is why
all unregulated devices.
All unregulated devices, which is why we said we have to first get support for it and then work to change the language in it to make it something that's more palatable for all aspects of the community. Because again, I have nothing at all against people who use mechs as long as you're not smoking cigarettes. I don't care what you're vaping, as long as it's not smoking cigarettes. So.
Yeah, and if you blow yourself up, don't call the local news and a lawyer.
Yeah, and a lot of the FDA workshop was actually pretty interesting for that because so many people like defective batteries and rewraps and oh my god, and all the attention is being put in the wrong place. It was about 195 incidents, 195, 205, something like that. Depends which incidents you're really looking at, and 120 something of them were from like mishandled batteries.
Yeah, absolutely.
And and people talk about, oh, it was a bad battery, it's very little data available because it just almost never happens. The numbers, the odds are so high that it's hard to get an accurate estimate, but they estimate it's only 1 in 10 million to 1 in 40 million cylindrical batteries are bad. Namely, will do something on their own without being badly abused. So as vapors, we may never seen a defective battery, ever. In the history of vaping, there may have never been one. It's our handling and stuff. And the regulations don't address that.
Right.
They can't. Well, yeah, they can. They can say internal battery mods only. In a way, they've picked the perfect way to regulate safety back in, but through sheer ignorance. They found a way to get rid of the incidents that do happen. It just pisses me off that.
Well, I think the government's answer to everything is regulation, not education. I mean, with a little education.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
But our community hasn't done it. For years we haven't done the education. We had our chance to educate ourselves, and we decided not to. We decided, no, that takes time, that takes effort. I don't want to do that. I'm making 25 cents in this battery. I'm not spending 20 minutes with anybody for freaking 25-cent profit on this freaking Samsung battery. No way in hell. Now, that's gotten a lot better, and I have to give a lot of shops a lot of credit and the online vendors just in the 2 years I've been vaping. terms of the information that's put online, making sure not to just use the number from the battery up there, but to put some continuous and other numbers down below. They all come with warnings. Now, I know a lot of those are just for liability for the vendor, but they serve us well in terms of, warning people going, whoa, these aren't your daddy's AA batteries. Mm-hmm. These things have a lot of energy in them. And hopefully that starts to work. Unfortunately, our actions before that had led to the point where we got the government's attention. And
right.
We share videos of people's, batteries exploding in their pockets, which means it only takes, one of my rants is, it only takes 3 or 4 videos in the hands of a congressional aide to make for a presentation on the Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And if we take an obscure local video of someone's mod going off in their pocket and we share it 250,000 times, we have now made sure that aide sees it
right.
and puts it as part of their presentation. So I get it. I want to share it. I want to go, look at this numpty that did this or that or have a safety thing with it. But sharing it is the worst thing you can do. Screen capture it.
I think that over the last year, for sure, I've seen a lot better. I've seen an improvement in vapors not sharing negative stuff quite as much. We have a question from Todd Lund, and again, I'm not a technical person, so I'm just going to read it. Are you watching it live, Mooch?
I'll
read it
chat.
to you. It says,
No.
Do real 25RS, I don't know what that means, 25RS, have 3 or 4 legs on positive? Do real 25RS have 3 or 4 legs on positive?
3. They have 3.
3 legs on positive. Okay, well, there you go.
LG's, Samsung and Sony's are 3. Chinese and LG are 4.
Okay.
What does that
occasional
mean? Occasional Samsung is 5, and occasional Panasonic is 5, but they're rare. That's the low amp stuff. That's the laptop batteries.
Okay. I'm going to assume that you answered Todd's question because I haven't.
Yeah, if he has a 4-leg 25R, then he's got a fake. Let's see. Just to say, where's my camera? I don't know if you can see here.
Oh, those are legs. Okay.
There's 3 prongs leading from the contact down. And so this would be a 3-leg or 3-prong contact. So this makes it a Samsung, Sony, or in this case a Sanyo. It's a 2700. And
so is that better or worse than a 4-prong one?
It's just something the manufacturers use to differentiate one cell from another. Some of them are thinner metal than others, particularly the Sony VTCs. The top contact dents very easily.
Oh, yeah.
It's three tiny legs and it's thin metal. So a lot of people, and unfortunately, a lot of the VTCs are great in mechs, and a lot of people over tighten their mech and they end up denting it, and that's a big safety issue when you start denting contacts, top contacts, or the bottom if you start pushing in.
If you dent them, it's an issue. Can you give us just a few more? Do you have any other batteries there? There's something like maybe you can give us a quick little presentation. I don't know if you have any batteries that are maybe the wrap's peeling on. There's some stuff people need to look for. Do you have anything like that?
No, I don't have.
Well, what are some things people can look for in batteries when they know that it's either bad to keep using them or they need to just recycle them and get new batteries? Like, what should people be looking for? What should users be looking for?
Here's something with a little bit of contrast. Sorry, but I can't get this backwards forwards thing right. Okay, so you've got the blue wrap, but you've got this white insulating ring there.
Mm-hmm.
That insulating ring is quite possibly the most important part of your entire battery. The problem is, with all these batteries, is you've got the outer ring of the battery, and I don't have anything pointy. The outer ring of the battery out here is negative. The contact in the center is positive. You've got 2 or 3 millimeters between the positive and negative. That white insulating ring allows the positive to come through, but blocks the negative. So if you start to fray the wrap up there, if that ring or the white ring comes out, if it's badly damaged and that white ring comes out, you now can very easily, just sliding your battery in and out of a charger or a mod, bridge the positive contact in the center with that outer ring. And that's a hard short circuit. That's not going through the circuitry. That's anything. That's directly across the contact of the mod. No mod can protect you because it's direct, and particularly in a mech, especially. But and that's where you get fires.
So
that's
even
where
even
you get explosions.
someone that's using a regulated device and thinking, oh, I got a regulated device, I don't need to really be concerned with the wrap on my battery or anything because the mod's going to protect me. That's not true. That's not accurate. They could still
That's not accurate at all.
short it.
Yeah, because the mod essentially means nothing because you're really just shorting it with one tiny piece of the contact of the mod. So the mod might have short circuit protection. That just means if you short circuit your coil to the Addy maybe or something like that when you put on the top cap or there's a bad coil, that's where a regulated mod can protect you. But it can't protect you from damaged wraps. Also, in a multi-battery mod, let's say especially like an RX200 or something, you get 3 batteries all pushed together next to each other. Everyone will say, hey, the outside of a battery, that's 0 volts. Well, yeah, but if I have batteries in series, this outside is connected to the positive of this one. So this outside is at 4.2 volts. This outside is at 0 volts. Well, shit. What happens if I have damaged wraps and I touch these two together? I've just short-circuited one of the batteries because I touched 0 of one to 4.2 of the other. Damaged wraps on the side in a regulated mod. Touch 2 batteries together, and you'll short-circuit the lower voltage of those two. And now you get fires, an explosion, blah, blah, blah. So wraps are really, really important. Much more so than any concepts of defective batteries, defective mods, or something like that. It's the wraps, in my opinion. You see chargers that are burnt up. I don't see that being the charger. That's a wrap going in and out, getting damaged, especially with a lot of the pressure some of these chargers put on. Like a post I had yesterday, someone who stored their batteries in their charger in a backpack side pocket, and they went on a flight. And during the flight, the battery went into thermal runaway and burned a hole in the side and torched itself. You have to land the plane, everyone deplaned, blah, blah, blah. Everyone was okay. But you've got a battery sitting there up against the contact, just moving back and forth, jostling. Every single time it may be pulling back that insulator or pulling away the wrap a little bit or something.
I've actually done that before, so I'm glad you mentioned that. And again, I mean, even if you've been vaping for a long time, you can learn something new every day. I did not know that. I mean, usually when I travel, I put them in a plastic case, but sometimes I'll leave 2 of them in the charger and just wrap the cable around it.
Yeah, which makes sense in a way because it saves room. You need the charger anyway, blah, blah, blah. But put them in the cardboard boxes, put them in silicone sleeves in a case, anything but in the charger. Okay. Because any jostling is just pulling away at the wrap up on top there.
So some more common sense things that I think people do. Let's see. Don't just put loose batteries in your pocket ever.
Yeah.
Because any connection from the positive to negative post, or if you have a bad wrap and it touches some change or something in your pocket or keys, obviously it's going to cause it to short and vent, possibly explode.
Take them out of the charger when you're done. Don't store them in the charger overnight. It's 1,000,000 to 1. Anything could happen, but that 1 is a lot in terms of consequence. It's like airbags. You might never ever need the damn things, but when you need them, you really freaking need them. Yeah. And the consequences of not having the airbag is huge for that 1 in a million chance. Well, kind of think that way in terms of batteries and stuff. Yeah, it's 1 in a million this charger is going to do anything if I just go to work and leave my batteries in them. But the consequences are so big. Just pop the batteries out.
I do that too. So I'm going to go.
I bought a 12-inch floor tile, ceramic floor tile. It's very nice. Put little rubber feet on the bottom. I just plop the charger on top of that. If I do step out or I'm not watching it or something like that, I'll break my own rules once in a while. You can't be insane about it. It's just a basic awareness of the risk you're taking, and then go, no, I'm going to sleep with the batteries in the charger. We all responsible for our own safety.
What does the ceramic tile do? What is the positive of that?
If anything goes up, if anything catches fire, at least the fire is on a ceramic surface, and it's not going to take my table with it or anything like that. Gotcha. The fire will happen on a ceramic tile.
Anything else you can think of off the top of your head that you see a lot of mistakes being made on that people can learn from here tonight or by watching this on the replay? What's some maybe the top 2 or 3 things besides keeping loose batteries in your pocket, besides keeping
Yeah,
But actually, those
I
may
mean,
be the things besides keeping batteries in your charger.
I think we pretty well covered it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we covered at least the most basic ones. For me, I think the primary causes of the incidents that are done, those 120 something instances on 195, are the wraps.
Right,
And not keeping them intact and not realizing a regulated mod protects you for nothing when the wrap is damaged. We don't have grade Z batteries being rewrapped and blowing up. We don't have batteries blowing up because they're being used beyond their ratings. Battery may maybe vent, but they're not going to go to thermal runaway and not burst. That takes a short circuit. That takes something else going on. So it's just easy to say, oh, you use an AWT battery? Of course it blew up in your mod. That's the easy way out. That's not what happened. There's something else going on. It was the wraps or something like that. Even a defective mod that short circuit, there's a lot of places that current has to go through the mod. And if the mod short circuits internally, a component goes bad, it's going to pop, it's going to explode and open up the circuit. And your battery just is going to sit there short circuiting. So wraps. Basic safety, and like I say, in your pocket, put it, if the battery isn't doing something active, put it in a case, or at least put it in a bin or something where it can't roll around or be, the Tupperware, anything. There's some great 3D printed L-shaped, almost battery dispensers. You drop them in the top and it'll dispense one battery out the bottom. So as you charge them, you put them in the top, then you pull the batteries you need out the bottom, and they just kind of slide their way through. There's some of those. Mark Todd is and Plumes of Hazard guys, I think, had some examples of that, but certainly Mark Todd has got, I think, shown that in some of his videos.
So Grocery Boy asked a question. He says, what is the future of battery technology? Bigger and better, more efficient, or something different altogether?
I think it's going to be a continuation of what it's been for the past 50 years. There is no revolution in battery development. There's lots of press releases. There are a lot of announcements. But the announcements we've seen, glass batteries, 3 times the capacity, that the inventor of the lithium-ion battery has made this amazing invention. We've had those kind of batteries for a decade, and they haven't come out of the lab with anything useful yet. Something important to remember is every single announcement we have now, 1 out of 100 of them may survive the commercialization process and make it into a battery 3, 5, 10 years from now. But remember, 5, 3, 10 years ago, all these announcements are still happening. And what we have now is the state of the art and all those things. And we're not saying to ourselves, oh my God, this is incredible. We're all complaining about our batteries. So, there isn't some magical thing that could happen to us. Now, the transition from 18650 to 2700s and 21700s, I think it's a great thing. They're all going to be using the latest chemistry and the latest technologies to get the most out of them, because this is an emerging market. Electric cars, they need higher performance batteries. This isn't like a power bank or medical device where you can use, old high resistance 26650s inside and it's just fine. This is the market that wants performance from the batteries and longevity, etc. Maybe not high current handling, but there's some good cells out there. So I think it's going to be that slow evolution. I think at least for vapor in the last, maybe for the history of vaping, the next year or two will be certainly the most exciting and fastest changing that we've had. That I think will stabilize out with just the dozen or so 2700s, 21700s. And maybe 5 years down the road or something, there'll be some different chemistries that may offer some opportunities for moderate and lower power vapors. Very
cool. Good answer. Now, so I know that you had started or were planning to start a YouTube channel. Was it going to be? Is it something that you're still working on doing, or do you want to do that, or what's it?
I want to do it. I keep threatening to do it. It's the time. If you start it, you need to make a commitment. For me, I think at least, I'm not going to start it and then every 5 or 6 weeks put something out. It's something where I want to have regular content. I have a list of at least 60 topics I want to cover. There's certainly what is it called when you have a topic of opportunity, timely. There's a great term for something that pops up and you go, I want to talk about this, and you throw up a video for this latest event. Like that guy 2 days ago or yesterday who had the charger in his backpack. That could be worth a video.
Absolutely.
And especially since I have the same charger here and show what's involved and what I think may happen. I'd like to, but I hate being on video. I hate doing the videos.
That's surprising because you're really good at
Yeah,
it.
you are. You do a really good job of
Thanks.
explaining things. So I think
Thanks.
it'd be a great idea to have a battery safety only channel and someone who explains it as well as you explain it. Maybe do some close-ups of I don't know, wraps that are going bad and what to use and what not to use. I think that would do really well. I mean, I think
it's like you saw beforehand. Yeah, I don't have a setup anywhere. I don't have, the lighting comes out of the box in the closet, plugged in, turn on, set up, put the filter on, daylight filter on, and
that can come later.
Everything else. So
once all the YouTube money starts rolling in, then you can worry about all that.
Let the first $250,000 come in, and then I can start thinking about the upgrades.
Absolutely. I think you should definitely continue.
It takes away from testing. It takes away from testing too. And my day job now is taking up more and more of my time, so people may notice some of the testing has slowed down a lot. I mean, I'd love to do this full time for the community. I'd love to, say, hey, I'll do this full time, but I got bills.
Is
bills.
testing something that you could put on a video? Is like the testing process something you could make videos out of?
You could. It's a 48-hour video for one battery, though.
Jesus.
It takes about 2 days, about 15 to 17 discharges to test any particular battery on there, and to determine a rating and stuff. You can just go, oh, it didn't explode. That's fine, and do that, or just maybe compare one discharge against another previous battery. But when you're setting ratings and determining limits, particularly if safety's involved, you can't test one. You need a bunch of discharges. You have to measure temperature. I want to test 2, 3, 4 of them. If there's something like a special project I have now, there's maybe 5 dozen batteries involved, just to simply answer what may be going on with 2 of them. And only because there's some conflicting statements being made about some things, and I want to get to the bottom of it. So, or married battery testing, which has been going on since last summer. I'm about 6,000 cycles in,
wow.
And I'm almost done with the preliminary testing. Almost done.
That's crazy.
And so it's because there's so many different scenarios. You can't say, oh, well, for this you don't have to worry. They go, oh, but what about this? And what about this? And all the different combinations of married or unmarried or what they could do. And you need to figure out, okay, what subset of that, through realizing you can combine them, can make up any combination anyone can do. And you've got, multiple months of testing over lots of different batteries. Oh, you only test 25 hours. I have HG2s. Those have to be married. Fuck, now I got to test HG2s. So you've got to test. You've got to test all these things. What are the ways people will come in and say, your results don't matter? And how can I preemptively test and for that? Namely, anticipation, managing expectations and anticipating some of the questions. So all that takes a crap load of time. None of the companies are interested in sponsoring me. But so it's the day job that takes up so much time, and then where I can, little things. And if I do the video, I have to stop doing what I really love as much, and that's testing.
What about the thing that the device that Nick sent you out that you said he got a couple weeks back or a month ago or whatever it was? Did you ever get that? What was the device again? I forgot what it was.
Yeah, the Osmotis battery analyzer.
Oh, the battery analyzer.
Yeah. So actually, I can't respond any further to that question.
Okay. So you have you done any? Okay. Well, when you get some results on it, maybe we'll have you back on. You can
yeah. As soon as things can be discussed and whatever may or may not be going on. That's it. And I apologize for, I don't mean to be disrespectful for your question. I'd love to be able to answer it. I'd love to be able to answer it. But there's some additional things that have been going on that make it where I can't discuss some things with that.
But you think that at some point in the future you'll be able to?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, and it's something I'm excited because
once the check clears.
It's always about the check, dude. Come on. eFest I've been a shill for eFest ever since I started. This whole thing about me and that them trying to put down my testing and et cetera. No, that's just an act we put on to make it think I'm legit.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate you having you coming on and joining us tonight. We'll definitely have you
Thank you for the invite.
In the future. It was I think it was a very informative show. Hopefully people share it. If you guys are watching again live, make sure you click that like button. If you're watching on the replay, make sure you share this, tag some fellow vapors in it. It's got some good education in here about battery safety and what to do and what not to do. And Mooch, we look forward to having you back on in the future.
Kevin,
job.
thank you for having Jay. Thank you for the time and for the show and your efforts too, advocacy and education and everything else. It's an underappreciated segment of our community, but a critical one. And I wanted to thank you.
Wow, we appreciate it.
you.
When we started this, I had the idea last year. I mean, I know we're not going to get as many views as the sexiest review or the newest coil build or whatever. But if we get information out to people and they can share that information and maybe it sparks some people to get involved and take an interest in advocacy, then that's what we do this for every week. So yeah, you're right. It does take a commitment to do it. We do one a week. It's not like doing review videos where you got to do something every couple of days to keep the audience happy. But
yeah, that cycle is evil.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, we try. And we appreciate you watching and tuning in and sharing it, and we'll definitely have you back on. Jay, you have any closing thoughts before we take off?
I actually had a question, but it might be a loaded one that might take us too far over. So I don't know if you want to wait until
it doesn't hurt to ask. I can always tell you to screw yourself.
Well, you said at the top of the show that when you first entered the industry as a consumer, that you noticed that manufacturers were lying about batteries, lying about the rating. Do you see at this point in time, that those lies, that fraud is occurring more with the all-in-one style or integrated devices, or is it still equally kind of dispersed between integrated devices and standalone battery manufacturers?
By far the standalone, only because the internal battery device manufacturers don't post the stats. You buy the device or you don't, and you deal with whatever you get in terms of the battery. Whereas the loose battery manufacturers have to put the stats in because that's how they compete to get you to buy the loose battery. There's no mod to sell the battery.
So is it just the fact that with the integrated devices, they don't necessarily give you any information to be incorrect or not?
Yeah, some of them will give you like a output current limit. Hey, you can drive 25 amps to the coil or something. And then if you do the Ohm's law, the variation of Ohm's law for regulated devices, you can go, it draws that much battery from the current. Yeah, maybe that much current from the battery is a better way to put that. But you don't know what battery's in there, so you don't. You might go, it draws 16 amps from the battery. Okay, but you have no idea what battery's in there, so it'd be useless information for you.
Right, and it's kind of it's useless because the device is, in theory at least, going to regulate it so that it doesn't dip beyond its internal limits.
You hope, you hope they've designed it to not vent your battery inside the device, and we don't hear about that. We don't.
No.
I think if they were doing that, we'd be seeing a lot more. Okay,
yeah, certainly
after
not.
The iStick 50.
Certainly not anymore. Yeah, I mean, we've had instances, say 4 or 5 years ago, where you would see that occasionally. But yeah, you really don't hear about regulated devices at this point venting.
It's rare. I think they're learning a lot. The iStick 50, in my opinion, after tearing apart a half dozen of them, had a capacitor issue. And they used one, I think, a slightly lower voltage. It was a very complex way you use these particular capacitors to do particular function, and they used a very efficient, very small one. And guess what? Its failure mode is flames and explosion with this capacitor. And it actually touched the edge of both the LiPo cells inside the ISIC 50 watt. So if that capacitor went, and the later models had a higher voltage capacitor. This is why I'm thinking they finally figured it out. It would shoot jets of flame into the tops of the LiPos.
So it's kind of like having a smoke detector on your mod. Like, it's letting you know to get out of your house because it's already on fire.
It was very convenient because you didn't need to worry about lighting your LiPos. The capacitor would light them for you. It was like a blasting cap or a stick of dynamite. You don't have to hit the dynamite with a hammer. The blasting cap does it. Actually, I don't know if the hammer would do anything in dynamite, but it would ignite the LiPos, and then the LiPos would go up and destroy the board and the evidence and everything else. But I was lucky enough to get some where the cap went, but it didn't take the LiPos with it. And I'm like, whoa, okay. I think I know what's going on here. But yeah, I haven't seen anything like that since. We get all kinds of other failures. 510s seem to be the failure of the month. Press-fit 510s are the popular failure now. But in terms of batteries, I think they've gotten better because they have control. And it's in the best interest not to destroy the reputation over a battery.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's short life, I would use a much better quality battery. But the average life of these things, what, 3 to 6 months in terms of maybe what a vapor will use them for? So they really don't need a battery to last more than 100 cycles or something like that.
And in a regulated mod, the shelf life or the use life of the typical switch is about 6 months. So
yeah, it's all designed that
it doesn't matter.
We get exactly what we pay for. We demand ultra low cost mods, and that's exactly what we get.
Yeah.
That will last for a very short time because we're paying for one. That lasts for a very short time, and it's this evil cycle. And now we demand. I think, what is it? Back when I started vaping, it was something like under $100 was nice, under 70 was fantastic. Now we're starting to complain if they hit the $50 mark for 200 watts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know the compromises you have to make?
Yeah.
To get that in there? If I had a 100-watt mod, I don't know, maybe $200. Maybe I could sell it, for 200 and not worry about advertising my development costs or something like that. But reliable stuff. But look at Ferraris, reliable as hell. I think if they had a high power model at $400 or something like that, I don't know. I think people want to be able to upgrade and change and do that without worrying about.
Well, hence they're out of business. So.
Exactly. Because you had those $50 to $70 mods that were going to 200 watts. And that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, you compromise quality.
Provari was barely pushing 60, and they were still charging $160 to $200 a mod. So,
it was exactly worth the quality. That was a
it was.
Price point.
I still use my ProVape products.
There was just no place in the market for it, or a very small place in the market for it.
Yeah, I'm that market. Me.
Yeah. I think everyone can second guess the whole thing, but if they had entered a lower end, a moderate reliability market, at 75 to 100 watts, let's call it 100 watts, moderate reliability instead of the top reliability, then I think that's a factor of 10 increase in potential customers on there. But it's all guessing, and it just wasn't their philosophy, so it just wasn't. Right. They just weren't going to do it. And for that I respect them in terms of that. But you just go, no, we're not going to do that. Like for my clients, well, I'm going to go like, what do you mean $18,000 to design a power supply? I'm like, well, it matches your specs. I'm like, whoa, we can't do that. I'm like, well, I'll give you the name of someone else. I'm not decreasing the reliability on this thing. Right. You said you want it there in 10 years. That does not mean design a 2-year power supply and hope they all last 10 years. That means the first one won't fail until 10 years, and most of them will probably last 50.
Right.
But that's not what our community wants, and that I understand, which is why I haven't designed a mod.
Are we gonna see you? Are you gonna try to make it down for VCC? Do you ever go to events?
Not yet.
Maybe you can come to Tampa at the end of June.
Yeah, wouldn't be able to end of June. Again, day job is gotten fierce. It took a hit for a while there. I turned down some jobs for a while, and finances say no. I can't turn down jobs anymore. But I got very caught up in the testing, and there were some special projects going and stuff. So probably no travel, not this year. We'll see what next year brings. We'll see what once I start making millions through my YouTube views, that will free up time. Yeah. And I'll be able to travel more and buy my first device for this year.
Well, we'd like to have you out to one of the events at some point, so I'll let you know.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Coming up next year for sure. I think you'd have a good time meeting the vapors and explaining things to people. I would even donate you a booth if you wanted to have a place to set up and kind of explain battery safety to people. I think that'd be awesome.
Oh, I think there's a fundraiser in there and say 50 cents a question or $1 a question.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm all about doing fundraisers for advocacy. I mean, we raise a lot. Of
I just sit there. Whatever question you got, come up. You put $1 in the pot and you ask me a question, and there might be some fun money there.
You're gone after 2 days.
We'll only take half of it for beer and victuals, and the other half can go to advocacy.
Have Mooch guess your weight.
There we go. The Mooch kissing booth.
We're gonna wrap it up there, guys. It's been great having you on, and we look forward to having you on at some point in the future. And
Kevin J, thanks again for the opportunity. It was good.
Have a great night, everyone. Remember, you don't have to do everything, but you do have to do something. Get involved.